Okay, so this was apparently added as a joke entry by the creator because I've researched all around the internet for Grey Day Crash, which is related to cars, but nothing came up. So yeah, this basically is a joke entry. This is basically the deleted scene from Cars back was in storyboard, where McQueen had two options: either race for the Radiator Springs Grand Prix, or fix the road in the community service, basically. So for this, in McQueen has a nightmare where chooses the community service and is put in the body of a steamroller. Of course, this ends up bad, and Mater eventually become gets in Lightning's body with the help of Doc, and reveals that he wanted to be a race car. Eventually, with Mac finding him and taking him to the track. Before Cars was Cars, it was originally known as the Yellow Car, where the story would basically follow a tiny little yellow electric vehicle living in a world full of gas vehicles. Yeah, this was later cancelled when Disney wanted to make a Toy Story 2, but this later idea never went away and was later utilized for Cars. This basically is that the original teaser trail for Cars in 2004, we get to see a race between the beta version of Lightning McQueen and Chick Hicks and with other racers, and at the end we get to see that this was all just a movie, which was being watched by both Lightning and Mater. Basically meaning that they were watching the alternative line of Cars. In the original Cars movie, we can spot the Mac I car racing, basically the Apple car. This was added as a nod to Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Pixar. He also was added in Cars 3. This is referring to when in the original Cars movie, the characters watch classic Pixar movies, which then include Mike and Sully as carified versions. And also the Abominable Snowman, basically confirming that they are canon to the Cars universe as maybe actors. This is referring to the already mentioned Autobots, the Chinese ripoff movie of Cars, which there's not much I'm gonna say. We already know that it has pretty big similarities when it comes to the posters. And most of the characters have similar designs to the already known characters from the Cars movies. So, yeah. Most Cars fans already know this, but there was originally going to be a scene where we're going to see Doc's death. It was confirmed by one of the directors of the movie that we were originally going to see Doc's original death scene, which would basically be have a similar start to what we saw in one of the flashbacks with McQueen and Doc racing, but instead, in this alternative version, Doc would be following off behind and would eventually stop and die. Basically, this scene didn't make the final cut because they thought it would be too dark. Which for me, this doesn't really make any sense because in up the first 15 minutes, we got literally to see one of the characters die, which was Carl's wife Ellie. But I get it because Carl's target demographic isn't really that old. Not talking bad about it. Come on, this is one of my favorite movies, and that's why I'm doing this video. But we all know that most kids really like cars, so maybe that's the reason they didn't want to include it. But I don't know. This is the brand of the tires that every single racer in cars uses. This is basically a nod to the character Buzz Lightyear from the Toy Story movies. The boob joke in Cars 1. This is referring to a scene in the first movie, which me and Tia, two Lightning McQueen fans, go up to him and flash their headlight to him, and his reaction gives off the vibe that they are well boobed. Global warming is crap. I have no idea what is this referring to. Basically, what I believe this is referring to is the fact that they're old cars, and basically, since people usually give a lot of the blame to cars for global warming, and here this is a whole society run by cars. Basically, this is complete bullcrap because nothing in this bad in this world has ever happened. Lost. This is basically the deleted scene of Cars, it plays out sort of similar to the original movie, where McQueen confuses Mac for their recycled batteries and gets, well, lost. He gets a glimpse of the highway, and then decides to go there, only to end up in a graveyard full of old cars. The scene was cut due to being considered too dark. Planes and buses. This is basically referring to the existence of planes, as in the movie that was made, and buses. And to an extent, I'd like to add the taxis. This doesn't really make that much sense since, they're cars. They don't really need taxis or buses to go around. So that's kind of a weird concept. Planes make sense. They sort of work like in Cars from the Cars universe. They are the people, essentially. The buses and taxis, though, I don't understand. The tourist guide or something? I don't know. This is a popularized theory by the community, where basically it defends that the cars essentially killed all the humans and took on the personality of the last person who drove them. Basically explaining why there's fences, sidewalks and such, and small doors. While the small doors can be argued that they can be for forklifts, for example. Pixar even made a Russian PSA about crosswalks. So maybe that's why there can be found sidewalks and crosswalks and fences and garages and such. Originally, Cars 3 was going to have a much different ending, where Starling wasn't going to let McQueen race. Instead, Cruz would race. And then McQueen would take on Donico's sponsorship as offered by Tex, race Jackson's phone, and would win. Basically, it would be one final win for McQueen. But this ending was changed due to them feeling like the moving on from McQueen as racer to crew chief would make much more sense if he mentored Cruz and crew chief for her.
You know what? Thus proving that the Pixar team is off their meds literally all the time, or on something else. Now, this is an important detail because it shows us that in this universe, these car-like creatures don't just become planes when they fly like the birds, but rather they can develop organic wings like those of a dragonfly. And all of this is without even mentioning the fact that there exist alien car-like species, as we see in Mater's Tall Tales. We know through the show that they can fly, and one final detail is interesting to note that the players aren't creatures, part of the series, but most of the series, they're moving around they're able to choose cars, going on these 4 distinct rims. These alien or these creatures with internal organs that are protected by car-like exoskeletons, multiple differentiated alien species that have evolved over time from the rodents, planes, and unlike and bird-like animals. It's really all this there's only one possible conclusion, that cars are all much more likely a highly evolved form of insect. Sounds ridiculous, but think about it. Just like an insect has a hard exoskeleton made of chitin, the creatures in the carverse have evolved a stronger exoskeleton made of various metals. Neither cars nor insects seem to possess an internal skeleton, and so in both creatures, muscles appear to be directly attached to the exoskeleton itself. An insect's exoskeleton